You're listening to the Telltale Channel. In this podcast,
Prophet of God Julie Green said some very funny things about the 2024 election and got them all wrong. I absolutely love exposing false prophecies. I don't know why these people keep making them. There's a weirdly high number of white straight men pretending to be gay black dudes. I can only guess what's going through their heads. Let's talk about the latest examples of famous Republican influencers getting caught pretending to be something they're not. Republicans started telling Democrats they need to cool down the rhetoric, like it's the left's fault that the right is talking about a civil war. Piers Morgan claimed that saying Trump is doing the same things as Hitler is inherently violent rhetoric and is leading us to dangerous political violence. Let's talk about why he's wrong. Oklahoma is going down a weird path right now, thanks to Ryan Walters, superintendent over Oklahoma schools. A Democratic senator from Oklahoma went on a local TV station and absolutely shredded him. It was glorious.
if you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
Okay, there seems to be like this weird thing happening right now where people keep claiming to be black people or even gay black people when they're absolutely not. It is so funny. I don't know if you guys remember this, but forever ago, back in 2020, I think, during the 2020 election period, dude named D. Browning, a commissioner for Lehigh County, I think, Pennsylvania, he posted this on his main account. I'm a black gay guy, and I can personally say that Obama did nothing for me. My life only changed a little bit, and it was for the worse. Everything is so much better under Trump, though. I feel respected, which I never do when Democrats are involved. He posted this on his main account. I love it. Bizarrely, we've seen more examples of this election. Oh my God, dude. These people are shameless. They will, lie about anything. Check this one out. Joey Manorino. I don't know him, but he's like some famous right-wing influencer. I'm a true black American woman, and I've been black all my life. I was born black, and I will die black. You're trying a little hard to convince me here. My mommy black, my daddy black. This is just racist. I will never cast a ballot for that Kamala Harris woman as long as I live. Trump all the way, all day, every day. What is wrong with these people? And I know you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe he's sharing a story from some follower that he has, right? No, he deleted it and then apologized for it after. Oh, I love it, dude. A tweet posted earlier from my account was the result of my account being logged in on a friend's device. A friend's device. I bet. Totally. That checks out. Clearly, I am not a black woman. Yes, that is quite clear. Thank you, sir. Unlike the Democrat nominee for president, I don't spend my time pretending to be a black woman to garner votes under false pretense. Oh my God, dude. The lesson here is always log yourself out when borrowing or using a friend's devices, because even months later, you'll stay logged in if you haven't changed passwords. On to the next scandal. Nope, not on to the next one yet. Let's talk about it for a second. The lesson I'm personally taking from this is conservatives, Trump supporters know that they don't have the support that they need, certainly not among certain communities. So instead of doing a grassroots effort where they're trying to, get people excited from the ground up and build an organization, they're astroturfing it. They're creating fake accounts to propagandize to people, to convince them that Trump has more support than he does. I don't know if you guys remember this back in the day, 2016. Donald Trump was not a legitimate candidate. It was clear he's just doing it for book sales or something, whatever, who knows. The only reason that Donald Trump even pulled ahead in the first place is because he's a populist. He spoke like somebody who was for the people, even though he very clearly is not and never was. Say things like, yeah, of course I take advantage of the tax system in the United States. You take advantage of it too, Hillary. All of your people take advantage of it. The difference is I've never been in politics, So I know how to fix all these problems because I know about them, because I use them. That makes me a smart businessman. You've been in politics all this time. You haven't fixed it. You know, he'd do things like that. That's how he got like real support, like grassroots support. But before he was, before he had any kind of legitimacy at all, I believe his first presidential rally, he was paying people off the street $50 each to come in there and sit in the bleachers or whatever and listen to him talk at a rally. He lies about the size of his inauguration. He lies about the size of everything. And you know what? I'm not saying he's Hitler. He's not Hitler, obviously. He's not like killing a bunch of people or whatever. I don't want people to think I'm saying that. But populist rhetoric, calling immigrants vermin, that's something that Trump did. Saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country, all that stuff is exactly, like word for word, what Hitler did. So when I say Trump is like Hitler, I'm not accusing him of being a genocidal maniac. I'm saying he's revving the country up into a blood frenzy, the likes of which we haven't seen since Germany in World War II, or in the 1920s at least. So the point is that he's like Hitler. And to circle back around to where I was, Hitler lied about crowd sizes too. He lied about the size of his support and the size of his everything. Exactly the same way. It's almost weird. It's almost like Trump got like a copy of Hitler's speeches and just like read it and learned how he did things and then just started copying that. That's what it seemed like. I mean, we saw this exact type of thing in World War II, or leading up to it, not in World War II, but like 1920s. We saw this type of deal right here. People pretending to be from some social class or some minority group or whatever that supported Hitler or supported the Nazi cause or whatever. This same type of deal. They didn't have social media, of course, but people would pretend like that. Anyway, it's happening all over again, so be on the lookout for it, okay? It happened last time with Dean Browning. It's happening this time with, countless people. Who knows how many? Just take a look at some of the comments under, like, Dean Browning's, under the post Dean Browning put up here. This is from 2020. Look at how some of the people responded when he said, "As a gay black man." A black gay guy under Obama has turned white under Trump, and life has become so much better. A miracle. That's funny, dude. Oops. Wonder if they all have burner accounts. Oh, no doubt. I have a burner account. I mean, it's not... Is it? Yeah, it's not going to show me. It's my cat's account. And sometimes, like, I've been blocked by some big people, like the Creation Museum and stuff. If I need to see what people are up to, then sometimes I'll use that for stuff. Everyone has burners on Twitter, I figure. Whoopsie daisy, love that. Just picked a whole bouquet. I'm sorry. Just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies there, didn't he? Oh, I love everything about it, dude. Well, that's just fantastic. And that would have been a victory for gay black men everywhere. He should be charged with a crime. This should be shown on television on loop in his state. Hey, Project Lincoln, look at this. I don't know that he should be charged with a crime, but he's lying very obviously, and it should have been all over the media, honestly. Like, all over. The media shouldn't have shut up about this for a while. Reminder that people want us to reach out and unite with these people, legitimately bungling their diversity Trump-supporting burner accounts. Regarding uniting, it's not me or anybody in my community on the left that I know of that burned the bridge between Trump nutcases and Democrats or whatever. In my opinion, it's Republicans doing this stuff. It's Donald Trump that's setting out to burn these bridges. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Next up,
Prophet of God Julie Green said some very funny things about the 2024 election and got them all wrong. I absolutely love exposing false prophecies. I don't know why these people keep making them.
we'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
This is Julie Green. She claims to be a prophet of God. She is absolutely, completely, and totally full of it. But it is so entertaining to watch her failed prophecies. Oh my God. That is what I come to her channel for, to watch her failed prophecies over and over again. Let me just give you an example. Leading up to the 2022 midterm elections, this is the example I always give to show people who Julie Green is. She made a prophecy from God about Nancy Pelosi.
They know Nancy can't handle the presidency. No. They know she's a drunk. But they know she is dying.
Is she a drunk?
And they helped with that.
They
are now disposing of anyone they feel is no longer useful to them.
And who is they, I hear you asking? She never tells us. The cabal is what it is.
She failed the puppet masters with her 2 impeachments that didn't work. No assignment and anything they gave her against Trump, it didn't work.
God doesn't like proper grammar, I suppose. I didn't know that.
So now...
Again, I'm sorry. This is from God in her mind. She believes that word for word, God communicated this message to her, and she wrote it down as he told her, and she reads it out to you. So every word that you hear is supposedly from God in her mind.
It didn't work. So now she is seen as a failure. Her days are coming to an end, and she will not last until the 2020 midterm elections.
Whoopsie. Oh, just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies on that one, didn't she? She meant 2022 midterms because this is happening at, around 2022. This is released mid-August 2022. And she has like an endless supply of false prophecies like this that just fail over and over. And I love watching her reaction when she gets another failed prophecy. I'll show you how she reacts when she gets one wrong in a second. This is a brand new one from Julie Green about Kamala Harris taking the candidacy for president after Biden resigned the race and endorsed her for president for the next one. Listen to what she said here. This is late July 2024.
Today, he was not given the choice. There was a coup against him.
Talking about Biden wasn't given a choice.
But God also said these are the days of payment. Because what they did against President Trump and what they've done against our nation will be done unto them. Days of payment. They made a coup against President Trump, stole an election in 2020, and...
Oh, maybe she's talking about Trump. So it was they who committed the coup, the insurrection or whatever. Not Trump, but they against Trump. Okay, go on.
Stole an election in 2020, and now they had a coup against him. And they're not done. They will also do something against Kamala and removing her. They do not want her. They do not want her as on the ticket.
Okay, I don't know who they is in this scenario. Actually, I do know who it is, but she hasn't defined it. She hasn't told us who they is. It's supposed to be this international deep state cabal who controls all of the world governments, this uniparty, WEF, like Klaus Schwab, Jew run thing. Seriously, I'm not even joking here. She believes that George Soros, a Jewish guy, and a bunch of other Jewish guys are pulling strings like puppet masters. This is a recycled conspiracy theory from the early 1900s, like 1902. There was this document, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, that outlined this whole plan for Jewish world domination that was fake. It was a forgery that was, it was plagiarized from a book that was written in 1854. It had nothing to do with that. It was a satire book. This plan that they laid out, Julie Green believes they're actually trying to enact this plan or whatever. And the word cabal comes from the word Kabbalah, which is like a Jewish method of meditation. I think the book of Zohar, which is just one of the books in the Jewish holy text, talks about Kabbalah. And people are think it's mystical and weird and dark or whatever. It's not. It's just meditation. Zohar talks about it and says you could do all kinds of cool things if you mastered Kabbalah, but all of those masters died and the information died with them for how to do these cool things, like move things with your mind and stuff like that. So now all we have left of Kabbalah is just meditation, basically. It's just a way of sitting calmly and clearing your mind and focusing on nothing or on God or whatever. So the word cabal came from the word Kabbalah, and it, whether she realizes it or not, it means Jewish elites that control the world. Like just Nazi conspiracies recycled. Whether she knows that or not, she's repeating Nazi stuff. So her claim, God's claim, Kamala Harris is not wanted by they.
Do not want her. They do not want her as on the ticket. Right now, they have to try to have a plan, because if they don't have her on the ticket, then they won't have the money that backs it up. So that's the reason why you're going to start seeing it. But even Obama had come out, I think yesterday, right after this all took place, and he did not endorse Kamala. So then I automatically went to the prophecies and see what God said about it since 2021.
Okay. To my knowledge, everybody has endorsed Kamala. That's how her name's pronounced, by the by. Kamala, not Kamala, for what it's worth. I thought it was Kamala. She's the nominee now. She's been chosen. I think, she secured all the delegates. Not sure if they, had the convention now or whatever. But there's just, no way to change this. And I don't care. Kamala is a fine candidate, in my mind. And in everybody's mind. She's polling really, really well. She broke fundraising records. She raised more money after announcing her candidacy. In one day, in a 24-hour period, she raised more money than Donald Trump raised the day after his conviction. You remember he's making all these claims. He raised $100 million in a day, 400 million in a weekend or something. Well, unfortunately for Donald Trump, you can only lie about those types of things for so long, because you have to report those things to, I think it's the FEC. You have to do FEC filings for donations. Donald Trump did not raise anywhere near even 80 million after his conviction. How much did Trump raise after his conviction? He raised 52.8 million in the 24 hours after his conviction. Kamala raised 200 million in her first week, and I believe she raised 80 million in one day. Fundraising haul comes after the campaign said it raked in more than 100 million the day following Biden's announcement that he would suspend his campaign. Donald Trump has a history of lying about the size of things. Kamala and Biden, and as a matter of fact, any Democrat that I know of, don't have history of lying about those things, so I tentatively accept that she raised 100 million. If so, then she busted records. She set new ones. Anyway, she's extremely popular. Way more popular than Donald Trump. There is a lot of enthusiasm for her.
And see what God said about it since 2021. And he told Kamala,
well, she's got a prophecy from 2021.
You are not the Biden's replacement.
Notice she said the Biden, like she says the devil. She says that very specifically. She believes that the Biden is some kind of antichrist figure or something in Christian lore. It's absolutely psychotic. She believed that the whole world was going to come crashing down because of Biden, and Donald Trump was going to have to build it back up in his image. I mean, psychotic stuff. Seriously. Hilariously, I decided to go back and look at some of Julie Green's other prophecies that she lays down. She talked to Rudy Giuliani and, as it turns out, gave him a prophecy from God. And his reaction while listening is so funny. Oh my God. He tries to act surprised and act like he believes it, but he fails so miserably, dude. Let's just start with this one.
This is something that the Lord gave to me and to give to you. This is back in February 25th of 2022. This was 2 years ago. This is what the Lord had to say about you. He said, Rudy Giuliani, I am vindicating your name in this hour. You will be rewarded greatly for standing up for truth. You have what you need to destroy every narrative regarding 2020. It is that time to move forward with a plan that you have been given. The walls that have been built up against you have come down. No longer will they control the narrative. Speak, my son, and do what needs to be done. I am with you. I have not failed.
You see him leaning back, wow, for the audio audience. He's moving in his chair. He's closing his eyes. Oh, he's really getting into this. God said all these things about me. That's so nice of him.
Speak, my son, and do what needs to be done. I am with you. I have not failed you. I will give you the strength to stand and face adversity. This is the time it will be different. It is not the time. Is now time for all that are against you to fall and to fail. Rudy, I have raised you up in this hour, and I have
God knows my name is probably what he's thinking right now. God, it's so absurd.
this hour, and I have given you everything you need to overcome and to come out victorious in the end.
Okay, if you're just listening, he just put his hand on his face and shook his head and mouthed the word, wow. He doesn't believe any of this, does he? Is he even a Christian? I don't know. I'm not convinced. I mean, I'm an atheist, okay? I have no vested interest in this. I have a strong suspicion that Rudy doesn't believe any of it. Like, not a word. He's just a shameless scumbag who likes to scam gullible Christians out of their money.
To come out victorious in the end. So move, my son, I will direct your steps. So God was giving you that encouragement that no matter what, he has raised you up for this time. And you have been going through persecution. You have been going through these things. You have
He's not been going through persecution, but okay.
all these court cases against you, but God is the ultimate judge. And it says in Psalm 75, verse 7, that God is a judge over all the earth. So I know you've been in court many times because you've been a lawyer, and God is saying that you face many judges, but he is a judge over all the earth, and he is the biggest judge, and there's no judge on the earth that can stand against Almighty God. And so I just want to give you that encouragement from the Lord.
This is so embarrassing for Rudy.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. You don't know what that means. I mean, that.
I know what it means to Rudy. Absolutely nothing. And look at her smiling away. Oh, she's so happy that she could deliver this message from God to Rudy. So heartwarming. This is an embarrassment. I don't believe for a second that Rudy buys any of this. He's cynically using Christians to further his own ends. And Julie Green is also using a gullible audience to convince them that she's in communication with God and get money out of it. It's disgusting. It's scams all the way down with these people. But did you catch what she said, right at the end there? Listen one more time.
That you face many judges, but he is a judge over all the earth, and
he's the judge over all the earth. He makes the final decisions, right?
All the earth, and he is the biggest judge, and there's no judge on the earth that can stand against Almighty God.
Presumably that means that God is going to reverse any adverse judgments against Rudy. God is going to make sure they go in Rudy's favor, right? Hilariously, a while back, she said the exact same thing about Donald Trump, that he wasn't going to be convicted in that fraud trial, you remember, about Stormy Daniels and paying her off to be quiet or whatever other thing? She made a pretty explicit claim at the time. This is May 29th, 2024, one day before the jury's decision that he was found guilty.
Breaking news will be heard that will rattle the enemy's camp. Innocent. This ruling will be heard.
Innocent. Okay, well, that's weird because court cases don't determine your innocence. They determine your guilt. So it wouldn't be innocent. It would be not guilty. But okay. I'm not going to split hairs here. Go on. He's going to be found innocent, huh?
The case has fallen apart. Their last-ditch effort.
She has to get it exact because it's from God. She can't mess up a single word in her head.
Did not work for President Trump. They cannot put him in jail now as
They, once again, you catching that? The cabal.
Not put him in jail now as the last indictment falls apart. Watch how things dramatically take place to stop your election and my David from taking back the seat of the president. But your enemies cannot stop the freight train coming against them because it's me.
Because it's me.
Saith the Lord of hosts.
Of hosts. Wow, that's a super embarrassing thing to say right before he gets convicted, huh? So how'd she react? Badly. And it was so funny. I love it. Okay, remember, she told Rudy, God's the judge over all the earth, and if he doesn't want you to be convicted, you won't be convicted, period. And she said the same thing about Donald Trump, right? God doesn't want his David, quote unquote, his special little fella. His effectively like new son of man. Like in her mind, in the minds of other extremists, Donald Trump is fulfilling the role that Jesus was supposed to fulfill when he returns to Earth, which is to say he's going to be like a cosmic judge that determines the guilt or the innocence of people, and he sets up a kingdom for God where he rules forever or whatever. That's what they believe about Donald Trump. Some of them, at the very least. Son of Man is what that role is in the Bible. So remember that that's how she views Donald Trump. Her David. Her David is not going to be found guilty in this trial because God would not allow it. Well, guess what? She was so gloriously, hilariously wrong. Oh my God.
He says there will be no guilty verdict because there's no crime.
Oh yeah. Oops.
He will not do any time behind their bars and their prisons. No, they will not get what they wanted. No, not at all. Well, you can say, well, that was not true because there was a guilty verdict.
I could say that, and I am, as a matter of fact. Thank you.
Look, he says there will be no guilty verdict because
Okay, well, he was wrong.
when somebody is exonerated, it's like it never existed in the first place.
Okay, but there was still a guilty verdict. Even if you believe that Trump's going to be proven innocent at some future date, which isn't going to happen, but even if it did, there was still a guilty verdict. She just moved it forward. I thought that God could control all of this junk and make it so that, you know, the judges decided the way he wanted them to. Interestingly, this video that we're watching right here about her like trying to backtrack on a ridiculous prophecy, this one came out May 31st, 2024, one day before the verdict. The Rudy Giuliani one came out a month before that, late April 2024, where she said that God was going to make sure that he was safe and everything. So she hadn't built up a track record yet of just blatant, complete, obvious failure. Although she already had failed a whole bunch of stuff, like Nancy Pelosi and everything. But okay, so keep listening to her just fail this hilariously.
In the first place, you can have a fake inauguration. Doesn't mean the person in that place is a real president.
Yeah, but he was found guilty.
You can have a fake king to be coronated. Doesn't mean he's actually king.
But he was found guilty. There was a guilty verdict. You said there wouldn't be.
You can have a fake verdict. It doesn't mean that person is actually guilty.
But you said there would be a guilty or an innocent verdict or whatever. You said there wouldn't be a guilty verdict, right? Like, I get how she's trying to twist this around to, like, make herself the good guy and, like, not a complete Looney Tune, but it's just not working, man. God, I just love watching her flop around like a fish. It is so entertaining. It gives me sustenance. Let's look at a couple of other historical ones. So this one is early January 2024, and she has some stuff to say about a coup. And this is one of the prophecies that she's calling out to, saying that she got it right.
My children, the time has come. A time that you have been waiting for. A reinstatement. A shift of power.
When she says that, she means Donald Trump is going to be reinstated. The time is now. He's going to be reinstated. She says that in other videos that I could pull up if need be.
A new government in control. An overthrow and a takeover in this nation from the hands of the wicked to the hands of the righteous.
Saith the Lord of hosts.
The fall has come. The time is drawing near. A coup is about to be disrupted and annihilated, and everyone a part of it exposed.
So the coup, I guess, is against Donald Trump, and it's about to be annihilated and exposed. What coup could she even be? I mean, she's not talking about anything here, right? But she's counting this one as a W. So what could she possibly be talking about that she thinks that Trump was subject of a coup attempt and the coup people lost, the seditionists or whatever lost against Trump?
And removed. So my children, hold on. 2024 will start out with a bang. So brace for a mighty impact coming to shake you loose from the chains that bind you.
Okay, well, now we are well into 2024. And, yeah, there was no big bang that shook chains or whatever the hell.
It will look worse, but remember my words. This means your enemy's days are running out.
So it is going to look bad. Things are going to look bleak, but your enemy's days are running out. Wow. Okay. I wonder what she's going to say when Trump loses the 2024 election. I know what she's going to say if he were to win it. She'd count that as a W. See, I prophesied this so long ago. Look, here's how this works. It's a neat little trick she's been using for a while now. She just shoots stuff out, scattershot, just whatever she can think of, whatever comes to the top of her head. I think that Trump's going to blah, blah, blah. I think that Biden's going to blah, 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 whatever. And she writes it all down, and then, puts it on her YouTube channel or whatever. And then periodically, when one is successful by chance, 50-50 coin flip, when you shoot stuff out like that at random, there's a couple are bound to come true to some degree. When she finds one that was true, she parades it out like, look, I'm a prophet of God. I proved it. Completely ignoring the other 15,000 false messages that she gave. Look, I don't condone this. I don't believe in this. But there was a very specific remedy for false prophets in the Old Testament. When it describes prophets and how you tell if they're prophets of God, how they have God's ear, and what to do if they aren't really prophets of God, it's pretty clear. In fact, it's one of my favorite verses of the Bible because it's what has freed a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses from being so mentally stuck in the religion out of fear of what might happen. Deuteronomy 18:22 is the Bible verse. If a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, but the thing does not take place or prove to be true, which we just listened to like a billion examples of that with Julie Green, right? It is a word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Do not be frightened by it. In other translations, it says, don't be alarmed. Do not fear them. So it's a justification for a lot of people to no longer fear the Watchtower Society, for example. It's justification to recognize the fact that the Watchtower Society has been lying to people all along. And it can be justification for Julie Green's followers to conclude that she's been lying all along. She's a false prophet. She never had the ear of God or whatever, had the mouth of God on her ear. I don't know, whatever it is. Whatever weird relationship she and God have is fictitious. It's in her head. And again, the prescription for this, the solution was death. I don't believe in that. But she should at the very least lose her ministry. She should shut down her YouTube and Rumble channels. She has no place to call herself a prophet. Now, when people hear this, when I post this to Shorts, for example, I get the wildest comments on YouTube Shorts. Somebody's going to say, you're an atheist. Why are you commenting on Christianity? You have no place to comment on Christianity. I'm simply reading the Bible at its face and applying it to situations I see around me. That's it. Don't shoot the messenger. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Next up,
Republicans started telling Democrats they need to cool down the rhetoric, like it's the left's fault that the right is talking about a civil war. Piers Morgan claimed that saying Trump is doing the same things as Hitler is inherently violent rhetoric and is leading us to dangerous political violence. Let's talk about why he's wrong.
we'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
Donald Trump said he intends to bring an end to democracy, basically.
And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time.
Just this time.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine.
He's going to fix the system to such a point that you're not going to have to vote anymore.
You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
Sounded like he said, I'm not Christian, but in fairness, I think he said, I'm a Christian.
I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Okay, now let's steelman this for a second, all right? Donald Trump likes to play these little games where he pretends to, like, be misinterpreted by the left or whatever. Best case scenario, what Donald Trump is saying here is, you're not going to have to vote in 4 years because I'm not running in 4 years, so it's up to you. You know, it's not going to matter. I'm going to fix the system so well it can't be broken again. What's the argument here? Hypothetically, Christians don't vote in 4 years and Trump is done or whatever. Now they don't have to vote again because, what, it won't matter if a Democrat gets in? Certainly not, right? That's not what Trump was saying. He was very clearly, at the very least, alluding to the fact that he's going to create a system where people don't have to vote at all anymore. He does this kind of thing all the time to get attention, but I feel it's imperative that we point it out when he says it. We cannot let this skate by. And you know what? Since his assassination attempt, Republicans have been saying, you're ramping up the rhetoric, left. You need to chill out and stop, saying all this terrible stuff. Let me let Brian Tyler Cohen lay this out for you. He does it pretty succinctly with Piers Morgan. I'll let him take it away. Check this one out.
One trick that Kamala Harris missed in her speech, it was not a bad speech at all. But one thing she didn't do, she didn't allude to the assassination attempt on Trump. And it's only been 9 days since someone tried to murder Donald Trump. And
okay, I wasn't here for the previous conversation, but I don't know why she has to talk about any subject that she doesn't want to. Like what?
Trump, and actually shot him in the ear, killing him by 1/4 of an inch.
That's true, guys. Did you see his ear after it, the bandage came off? Oh my God. Let me show you, because this is crazy. First public appearance with no bandage on his ear. Check that out. That's what the bullet did to his ear. Is that crazy or what? Boy, poor guy. Again, I don't condone violence. I do not condone assassination attempts. That's wrong. I don't want to live in a democracy or in any political system where that's accepted under any circumstances. Wasn't okay when it happened to Paul Pelosi. Not okay when it happens to Donald Trump. But I think he maybe was overplaying it a little bit. He's like walking around like 50 Cent. He got shot 9 times, but he doesn't walk with a limp. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, keep listening here.
Would it not have been a smart move in between calling him, a sexual predator and a con man and a fake and blah, 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 blah?
He is those things.
Very ad hominem stuff. Would it not?
Ad hominem? Okay.
Blah, 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 very ad hominem stuff. Would it not have been a smart move in terms of unity had she just taken a moment to acknowledge the assassination attempt and say how pleased she was that he survived it? Something of that nature.
First of all, she doesn't have to talk about anything she doesn't want to talk about. Second, it's not ad hominem because part of the presidency is character. That's why people release their tax returns when they run for president, so that you know that they're moral, upstanding characters. And other things. If you vote somebody in who's a complete scumbag and doesn't care about anybody but themselves, it can end badly. You need somebody who is genuinely a good person to be president. So these aren't ad hominems. They were just proving to us that Trump is a scumbag. In any other conversation, if people were arguing Donald Trump was, I don't know. In any other situation, if people were using attacks, personal attacks as an argument against creationism or globular earth or whatever, that would be an ad hominem. That's not what's happening in this situation, but okay.
Piers, I find it so bizarre that the onus is always on the Democrats. It's always on the adults in the room to create unity. Where was everybody for the last 6 years calling for unity when Donald Trump was president? And, as far as the violence is concerned, I feel like any effort to try to pin, again, the onus on Democrats in terms of lowering the temperature in this country is just a testament to the fact that the Republicans are graded on the curve. Remember, it was not the Democrats. While we're talking about political violence, it wasn't the Democrats who laughed at Paul Pelosi being bludgeoned with a hammer. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who called for military tribunals for Liz Cheney. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who laughed at a kidnapping plot against Gretchen Whitmer. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who called for General Mark Milley to be executed. That was Donald Trump. Wasn't Democrats who posted a baseball bat photo with Alvin Bragg and threatened death and destruction if he was charged. So
he's going to continue, but I just want to add to that for a second here, okay? We have Donald Trump saying he wants to end democracy. That's one thing. Here's another thing. This just happened. Like, after the assassination attempt, this happened.
Fight! 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 We got time. Come on. Hey, we are in the fight for the soul of our nation. We are in a fight for our kids and our grandkids, a fight that we can never imagine.
This guy has jaundice, it looks like to me. The people behind him are clearly a normal skin tone. He is not. He needs to get his liver checked immediately because he could have one foot in the grave, one on a banana peel. Seriously, get your liver checked. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, keep going.
I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one...
Okay, just saying that right there, the last chance, that's kind of ramping it up a little bit. I mean, it's okay, but it's heightened now. And then he says...
If we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
So tell me, who is it that's ramping up this rhetoric? Who is it that's calling for civil war nonstop and fear-mongering the ever-living out of everything and everybody? Take a look at this. This is a Tim Pool tweet recently. Kamala Harris represents the greatest existential threat to the United States. That means he believes Kamala Harris is going to murder a bunch of people, I guess. Existential threat? That means threat to the lives of the United States or the life of the U.S. I don't know. Unelected, that's just ridiculous. Anti-democratic appointment at the 11th hour by the Commucrats. That's not what happened, but I don't even care. I'm not going to address it. She is Hitler and Stalin combined, but times 200. She is a communazi despot come to put conservatives in concentration camps. This is the kind of rhetoric. This is the problem right here. And also, communazi, really? I'm writing a book right now. I don't know when it's going to be out, sometime in the near future. Check my website if you want to see, owenmorgan.com, or the description. It's about communism and Hitler and Christianity and atheism and eugenics and how they all worked together to get Hitler elected. It's called Weaponizing Christianity, how Hitler used, what was it? How Hitler used the church to accomplish his goals. That's the title of the book. Anyway, keep a lookout for it if you're interested. The point that I'm getting to here is that communism and Nazism were diametrically opposed. You could not be both. One was a right-wing movement, a right-wing nationalist extremist movement, being the Nazis, and the other was a far-left authoritarian movement. So the only thing that they really had in common was that they were dictatorships, just about. Literally every single thing outside of that is completely different, down to the moral philosophies and the methodology of everything. And the fact that he's, this word is comical, communazi. I truly never thought I would ever see this word, communazi. He's calling her a communazi that's going to put us in concentration camps, or conservatives, I guess. Where did he get that? Got me. Maybe from this dude right here who's saying we need a civil war, who also has jaundice. What about this clip right here with Charlie Kirk? This isn't Charlie Kirk. We'll see in a second. He's talking about, when he says DEI in this, he's talking about black people. DEI is the new word for black, or for any minority group, you name it. Women, you're Mexican, whatever.
Turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now. You want
to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Okay, look, that's not a thought crime. There are no thought crimes in the U.S., and there shouldn't be. Somebody on the left, I say there shouldn't be thought crimes. That's not a thought crime problem. That's you being a shithead problem. You can't say something that's a complete scumbag thing to say and then complain when somebody says, yo, bro, that's like a scumbag thing to say. That's not how this works, okay? People are going to call you a scumbag and you're going to deserve it. Should you go to jail? No. But that doesn't mean you're not a scumbag. Hey, check this one out. This is a Charlie Kirk rally. At the end of this guy's about to talk about like violence, and Charlie Kirk at the end says he denounces it because he doesn't want this to be used against him or whatever in this thing or that thing. But completely unprompted, one of the audience member comes up and asks him a question. By the way, this clip is from late October 2021.
At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny.
I don't even know what that means. Corporate and medical fascism?
When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a...
There's got to be a joke, right? He's got to be joking. It's a joke. It's all a joke.
And that's not a joke. I'm not...
Ooh, yeah. What's their defense going to be this time?
Saying it like that, I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So, no.
That's psychotic. So who's raising the temperature? Who is raising the temperature in the political environment in the United States, precisely? Who's to blame for this? Republicans are graded on a curve. They raised the temperature. They have to lower it. We, being to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, can't lower the temperature. There's nothing we can do because we're not doing anything like that. We're not calling for people's deaths. We're not encouraging people to do assassination attempts or use guns against people or whatever. Like I said, Charlie Kirk goes on to denounce that and says that's exactly what the left wants, for you to say things like that so it can be used against us, basically. But why would somebody even show up to something like this and say something like that so confidently to Charlie Kirk on camera with a microphone if he didn't think that he was going to get a positive response? And did you hear people in the background yelling?
This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No,
That's cheering. They're clapping and cheering.
That's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's...
Anyway, the point is, it's not Democrats raising the temperature, and it's not Democrats that can lower it. Not possible for me to lower it anymore. I'm not doing anything like that. So listen to Brian Tyler Cohen's response to Piers Morgan, continued here, now that we have that in mind.
He was charged. So in all of these examples, Piers, it is not the Democrats who've done this. It's not the Democrats who've validated the use of political violence as a tool in this country. And it shouldn't be on the Democrats all of a sudden.
That's important. Validated violence as a political tool. Rhetoric is harmful and ramps things up, raises the temperature in the country, but legitimizing violence as a political tool is one of the biggest problems that you do not see from the left. You don't see that. You don't see people like that jaundice guy saying we need a civil war and we're going to make it happen if we lose this election. You don't see that on the left.
To be the adults in the room.
All right, Brian, to a point, Lord Copper, as we would say in the UK, right?
I don't know what that means.
It's the Democrats who for 8 years have screamed that he's Adolf Hitler. That's fairly violent rhetoric. You're comparing...
No, it's not. Calling him Hitler is, or not calling him Hitler, but saying he's like Hitler is accurate. Saying that he's Hitler, so we need to take him out. Somebody please get your guns. We need to fight a civil war. Blah, blah, blah. That would be violent rhetoric. No one is saying that. I don't know of a single high-profile politician, anybody with more than like 2 likes on Twitter, who's saying anything like that. And I haven't even seen that person with 2 likes. I'm just saying, hypothetically, they probably exist. It's not violent rhetoric to point out that Donald Trump literally quotes Hitler, like word for word quotes Hitler. This one's from November 12th, 2023.
In honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that
literally words out of Hitler's mouth. Marxists, communists, what was the other one? I think he said fascists. He didn't have anything against fascists.
Communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs.
Yeah, radical left thugs.
That live like vermin within the confines of our country.
The word vermin, specifically. is from Hitler's mouth. Need another example? I have like 60. Trump is intentionally setting out to say and do things like Hitler, in my opinion. And I did a whole video about this previously, about how he is setting out to act like Hitler. And you can watch that if you want. Just give you one more example in this video. He's talking about immigrants right now.
And pick the worst one, and you're not going to see what we're witnessing now. No control whatsoever. Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from...
Well, how do you know they come from prisons, immigrants that is, if you don't know where they're coming from? What are you talking about? No, we know where they come from. They're not immigrants, by the way, that he's complaining about. They're refugees. Many from Venezuela, for example. People who live in war-torn areas. And the reason that they're coming over the U.S. border is because by international law, the United States must have a humanitarian corridor open for refugees to reach a UN asylum center where you can seek asylum or whatever. That's why the border is open, quote unquote, for refugees. But okay, go on.
Whatsoever. Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Poisoning the blood. Poisoning the blood of our country. Direct quote out of Hitler's mouth. Those are the words that he used, in German, of course. He's famous for saying that specific phrase. I just gave you like 2 or 3 or more examples of Donald Trump quoting Hitler, quoting him. Again, a billion others. I don't need to go down the rabbit hole right now. It's not violent to say that he's copying Hitler in the things that he says and does and the way he acts. That is factual. No one is calling for his death.
Fairly violent rhetoric. You're comparing him directly
no.
to an absolute
Absolutely
genocidal
not,
maniac
if Donald
who
Trump,
murdered 12 million people, including 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. So
yes, Hitler bad. We all agree. Okay, we're all on the same page. Hitler bad. Great. Go on.
A Holocaust. So when you do that, that is violent rhetoric.
No, it isn't.
Piers, if Donald Trump acts like a fascist, it is not the Democrats' fault for calling him a fascist.
You're saying he is?
That is his
Hitler?
No, he's Donald Trump. Hitler was Hitler. We're saying that he acts like Hitler. The things that he does are literally copied directly from Hitler. That's what we're saying. Do you think that we believe that he's like secretly wearing a mask and that he's actually got like the little stash and everything under that mask? Like, what do you mean he is Hitler? He's trying to mock it. He's trying to make fun of the notion that Trump is like Hitler. He is. He just is. There's no mockery to be had here.
Fault for calling him a fascist.
You're saying he is?
That is his
Hitler? He is Hitler?
No, absolutely not. But
yes, he's literally Hitler. I mean, Hitler had a time machine stored in Argentina, and the Pope snuck him into Argentina. No, cryogenic freezing chamber. Yeah, that's what it is. Got into this cryo freezing thing, and they woke him up like in 2016 and said, all right, go run the United States. And he thought, all right, well, that's fine, but my face is all f***ed up from this freezing process, so I've got to find some way to, make it look at least halfway normal. And so they said, you know what is really popular right now? Tanning. So why don't you put a bunch of this orange, disgusting, caked-on makeup on your face like a fucking clown. Put that all over your face and make your hair, all frizzy so we can't even tell, what the hairdo is supposed to be. Is it like a swirl? Which way is it even swirling? Yeah, do that and then go to America and run for president. Yeah, that was Hitler's plan. Yeah, he's literally Hitler. Absolutely.
Saying he does act like a fascist. He does want to consolidate power in the executive branch. He does want to send the military into American cities. He does want to
you have no
terminate
problem
the
comparing him to Adolf Hitler?
No. Why would anybody have a problem with that? He's literally done those things.
I am calling him a fascist. That's what I'm doing. That was me.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of the end of the thing. But he's trying to mock it and make it hyperbolic, Piers Morgan was, to make him look ridiculous. That's not ridiculous. Embrace it. Yes, he is like Hitler. Brian Tyler Cohen didn't have the benefit of a clip collection, on hand where he could pull a clip up of Trump literally quoting Hitler word for word, for example. But I do. So hopefully I've like convinced some people. Anyway, these people are the ones that are ramping up like the temperature in the United States right now. And they're the ones that need to ramp it down. I have no control over what these nutcases are doing. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people are they're shameless, all of them. It's not on us. It's on them now. Ball's in your court.
Next up,
Oklahoma is going down a weird path right now, thanks to Ryan Walters, superintendent over Oklahoma schools. A Democratic senator from Oklahoma went on a local TV station and absolutely shredded him. It was glorious.
We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
This is Ryan Walters. There was a debate on this guy's actions in Oklahoma schools recently on like a local TV station. Let me just introduce you to Ryan Walters and who he is, and then I'm going to talk about the debate. Just listen to what he says here. He's a superintendent of Oklahoma schools.
We're going to make an important announcement today regarding the Bible and the Ten Commandments. My staff has been looking at Oklahoma statute. We've been looking at Oklahoma academic standards.
And seeing you're 49 out of 50 or something? Yeah, go on.
And it's crystal clear to us that in the Oklahoma academic standards, under Title 70, multiple occasions, the Bible is a necessary historical document to teach.
Okay. So you were looking at your academic standards and said, we need less academics and more Jesus. And that'll fix the academic standards? Okay, go on.
Necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization.
Yeah, except for the fact that the United States is not a Christian country, never was. Wasn't built on Christianity. In fact, it's the Great Experiment. I'm sure a lot of people probably heard that saying, right? The Great Experiment. You know what the experiment was? Secularism. It was the first state of this size to institute national secularism, like separation between church and state. There have been, smaller ones who've come along and tried it before, but not on this scale. And it was successful for 200-something years. And now we have people like this guy coming in and lying about the founding, claiming that the founding fathers wanted, like, religion crammed in people's throats and stuff, and telling people they need to read from the Bible in school, during the school day. Like, teachers need to teach from the Bible. That's what he's saying in this.
Civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country.
The Bible? Foundational to the Constitution? No, it isn't. Where did he get that? He got it from David Barton. It's a lie, a straight up lie, propagandistic lie. The Constitution at no point quotes the Bible, uses verbiage that is similar to the Bible, it did not use the Bible as a source for anything at all. And that was intentional. Doesn't say God's name anywhere in it. Doesn't say God anywhere in it. Doesn't say creator. That came 10 years before the Constitution was even written. It said, we are endowed by our forefathers, we're endowed by our creator to something, all men are created equal. I don't remember what it said now. That was the Declaration of Independence. That was a bunch of people saying to King George, cram it, basically. We are starting our own state, and you can come try to stop us if you want. And he did, and he lost. Anyway, the point is, the Constitution comes 10 years after that, had nothing to do with God. Nothing. Literally nothing. But okay, keep rewriting history, I suppose. The sick irony is that this guy used to be a history teacher.
Our country. We also find major points in history that refer to the Bible, that reference the Bible.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
We see multiple figures, whether we're talking about the Federalist Papers, constitutional conventional arguments, and Martin Luther King Jr., who use it as a tremendous impetus for the civil rights movement and tie many of those arguments back to the Bible.
Okay, interesting. I hear your Martin Luther King Jr. used the Bible as a basis for his civil rights arguments, and I raise you the First Commandment contradicts the First Amendment. Also, slave owners used the Bible as a basis to deny people's rights. They accurately pointed out that the Bible supports slavery, is in favor of it, says you should and you can do it, and it describes how to do it. Says you shouldn't do it to these people, but you can do it to those people, and so on and so forth. Pretty detailed, too. So, yeah, if you think the Bible is in favor of human rights or civil rights or whatever, I don't know what you're smoking, but I would love some, please. Martin Luther King Jr. may have believed that he was getting his values from the Bible, but he was not. He had his own set of values, and he used the Bible as a sounding board to find verses that agreed with him and use them to back up his positions. That is literally everybody who's ever used the Bible as a moral guide, quote unquote, through history. It's literally impossible to not cherry pick the Bible. Any moral declaration that it makes is reversed a chapter later, practically. So anyway, about it being the foundational whatever for Martin Luther King Jr., you know what? If the dude quoted the Bible and it's relevant to the history lesson for some very specific reason, I'm okay with them, like, quoting the Bible verse in classrooms and saying this is why he blah, 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 whatever. I don't have a problem with that, and I'm like a secularist. My problem is the fact that he wants to teach it in classrooms. Like, he wants to read from it as though it's a math textbook or something every day.
For the civil rights movement and tie many of those arguments back to the Bible. It is essential that our kids have an understanding of the Bible and its historical context.
Why? Why is that essential? Why is it essential for a Muslim to have an understanding of the Bible or whatever? Why is it essential for a Buddhist to read the Bible in school? You know what? If that's essential, fine. Send your kids to Sunday school if you believe that's essential for them. But don't send my kid to Sunday school. What happened to parents' rights?
So we will be issuing a memo today that every school district will adhere to, which is that every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom to ensure that this historical understanding is there for every student in the state of Oklahoma in accordance with our academic standards and state law.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to raise them from 49th place in education. Is that where they are? I forget. Oklahoma education ranking. 49, yeah, sure enough. 49th place in education. How about that? Just looking at some of the other stats here. 36th in crime and corrections, 36 out of 50. 23 for economy. That's probably Oklahoma City, pulling all that weight. 49th in education, 49th in healthcare, 26 in fiscal stability. So 26 out of 50 in their ability to kind of float their own boat and not take back from, like, the federal government. 38 out of 50 in natural environment. I'm not sure what that means. And 26 out of 50 in opportunity. That's Oklahoma. You know, I'm going to pop it up on screen so you guys can see it. Here you go, right here. Rankings scorecard. So, yeah, reading the Bible is going to, like, solve that problem specifically. Okay. Some senators, or I think this is a state senator on the left, I believe. Or maybe he's just like a congressman. Anyway, the guy on the left, I think, is a congressman. Guy on the right is a senator. On the left is a Democrat. On the right is a Republican. And they're about to discuss it on a local news channel in Oklahoma. They're going to discuss, like, what Ryan Walters is doing right now at the Oklahoma schools. And I found it super fascinating. Give this a listen. This is from April 14th, 2024, by the way.
In case you haven't seen the piece we did on, Spencer Humphrey did the piece, I'll just say this. It was about Pamela Smith Gordon, who was a grant writer there. Very conservative Republican. Couldn't wait. And here's just the overlying theme of what the story was about. She couldn't wait to work for Ryan Walters' administration.
Okay, so she's a complete right-wing nutcase. Go on.
Now she's worried public schools won't survive the rest of his term.
Complete right-wing nutcase recognizes that what another complete right-wing nutcase is doing is going to ruin everything. It's going to, like, destroy the schools in the state. Okay, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. The surprising part is that she admitted that she's public about it. They must not have been giving her enough money to keep her mouth shut or something.
Term. She has resigned. We did a story with her, and
wow, she resigned.
The Walters people say this is false. This is not right.
Of course.
But anyway, back to Ryan Walters. Your caucus would like to see an impeachment process. You've had the supermajority. What are the? Nobody wants to go through this, but what are the chances of that actually happening?
Of an impeachment. I didn't know that they could impeach him.
We're asking for an investigation to put forth all of the facts. And if the facts show that there is a warrant for impeachment, then I think that that's what the people of Oklahoma should have up for consideration. I understand that he was elected, but when you...
I don't believe he was. I could be wrong on this. Again, I will put a correction in later. Apparently, I was wrong. The guy is elected. He was elected.
When you and your own staff is saying that we don't believe that rural schools may survive under this current administration, that's when the alarm should start going off. We've seen unconstitutional bill after unconstitutional bill. The nation's very first religious charter school is an online charter school that they're trying to push out across the state of Oklahoma. You're telling me that the wealthiest religious institution in the history of the world can't afford to fund their own online virtual
We're talking about the Catholic Church.
St. Isidora.
Yeah.
And to the grant writer's point,
let me just explain a little bit. There's another thing that Ryan Walters did. He basically ordered in his position the state to fund a religious school. So taxpayer money is paying for religious education. That is explicitly banned, not allowed to do that. But he did it anyway. And in my opinion, he's doing it to kind of throw spaghetti at a wall, if you will. Throw and see what sticks. You know, tell them they have to read the Bible in class. Tell them they have to fund tell them they have to fund religious institutions. Tell them that kids are allowed to go to churches during the day instead of school and receive school credit for it. Throw whatever you can at the wall and see what sticks. Maybe none of it sticks. If not, okay, well, I'll move on with my life. That's kind of Ryan Walters' thinking. It's a zero-risk game for him. He can do whatever he wants, and he knows that it's the chance of him being removed from office is nearly zero, if not zero, straight up zero. And if one of these things gets through, it opens the floodgates for everything else. It opens the door for religious institutions to receive taxpayer funds. It opens the door for teachers to teach... for administration to order teachers to teach from the Bible. It opens the doors for kids to go to church every day, all day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, instead of school and receive education or receive credit for that. He just wants one thing to stick. So yeah, he everything he's doing is unconstitutional. He knows that. He's trying to change the Constitution.
Yeah. And to the grant writer's point that if you have rural schools that are starved out and have to close down, who's going to fulfill that gap? Who's going to fill that gap? They want religious charter schools, virtual charter schools, to go in and to be able to do that. Unfortunately, we're just seeing the continuing dissolvement of the separation of church and state. Some theocratic lawmakers believe that they're divinely appointed to legislate their religious morality upon everyone, and that's just not America. That's not democracy. You can't just take away people's freedoms like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not possibly agree more. This dude is so on point, it's ridiculous. This is like I think a 30-minute segment or something. I listened to the whole thing, broke it down into various clips because he is so on point, and he says some stuff I had no idea about. They started debating, these two guys here, the Republican and the Democrat, about chaplains in schools. And the Republican argued that there are chaplains in the military, so you should be allowed to have chaplains in schools. The only real problem with that argument is they're not trying to put chaplains in schools. They're trying to put pastors in positions of school counselor, like a position that's normally filled by somebody with a psychology degree. They're trying to replace the job of someone with a psychology degree with a pastor. That's what's happening. That's not the same as chaplains in the military. The reason chaplains are allowed in the military and are even paid by the federal government is because they are interfaith. They cover Catholic and non-denominational and and Pentecostal and everybody, every single faith. And they have to be certified and a whole bunch of other things. And the reason that they're even allowed in the first place is because people are moving from place to place and cannot receive last rites, for example. They can't attend church service. They can't whatever. Because they set up camp on front lines where armies are like coming at them at any moment. Some of them are dying on the field, lots of them probably. And you can't just set up a church there. So they have a traveling chaplain. I'm actually okay with that. And in fact, I'm okay with the military paying for a traveling chaplain as long as they are interfaith and they cover imams. You know, they cover Muslim priests and Buddhist priests and everybody. As long as it's covered for everyone, I'm good. The difference between like military and school is school children are in a more permanent place. They can go to a church in their community if they want after school. They aren't moving through war zones where churches cannot be constructed at that moment. If they want to go to church, they can go to church. School is not church.
Yeah, real quick to the chairman's point about religious hospitals receiving public tax dollars. There's very strict laws in that they cannot proselytize to patients and they have to accept everyone. That's not the same with the St. Isidore School. Bottom line when it comes...
St. Isidore School, that Catholic school receiving taxpayer money, can discriminate based on religion. That's true. I forgot about that. So if they don't want to let gay people in, then I think that that's a legal exception because they're Catholic and they don't believe in being gay or whatever it is. I'm not sure if that's legal for them or not, but they are allowed to discriminate in all kinds of different ways. That's the point.
Bottom line when it comes to having school counselors is we need to fund them. We can't expect for volunteers to step up and fulfill core services of government and expect top 10 results. We need to actually invest in our state, and we're going to get the outcomes we desire.
Absolutely. If you want to move out of 49th place, stop doing like this. Their argument is we don't have the money to put, or we don't want to spend the money on school counselors. We want to put chaplains in instead who are free or way cheaper. Qualifications are lower and all the other stuff. If you want to get out of 49th place, you do that by not going cheap on stuff. Guess that just like flew right over their head.
Replacing trained mental health professionals with chaplains in schools is like asking a nurse tech to perform open heart surgery. Nothing wrong with a nurse tech, nothing against chaplains, but they are not trained to do this job. Now,
a 6-week training course even, which isn't required. I'm just giving an example here. Nothing's required. No education for most of these chaplain bills. But let's be super charitable and steelman it and say they have 6 weeks of training. That does not compare to the 4 to 6 years of childhood development and psychology training that a school counselor should have.
Senator Pugh and I have been in an office for 8 years, and we know anytime you have a one-page bill come across your desk, there's going to be a stack of unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
This bill is so ambiguous, it's going to create so many problems. There's no definitions. Chaplains aren't even defined. There's no qualifications, no certifications, and no background checks required. This is going to be bad policy, just like...
There are 13 states in the U.S. right now that have pushed through chaplain bills, and I did a video about it with my wife on my main channel not too long ago, Chaplains in Schools. Just look that up on my channel. You should find it. I go through every single state and the things that they require, the things they don't, the ones that don't require any background check at all. Yes, there are some out there. They don't care. Even if you're like a sex offender, you can be a chaplain in certain states' schools, really. Anyway, check that video out if you're interested.
Bad policy, just like it was in Texas and the other 14 states that this bill mill has pushed across the United States with a agenda to proselytize to kids and unfortunately continue to break down that wall of separation in church and state.
But if it encompasses all faiths, what's the problem with it?
The problem is it's anti-constitutional. Right here, Article 2, Section 5 of the Oklahoma Constitution clearly states that no public dollars shall be used for religious purposes.
The legal problem is that it's unconstitutional, not just unconstitutional federally, but against the Oklahoma Constitution also. The moral problem is schools are not Sunday schools. They're intended to teach academics. How to read, how to write, how to do math, how to, do scientific experiments and stuff. They're not for religious education. You want to give your kid religious education, give it to them on your own time. You can get it for free from any church. Schools are for academics, not religion.
For religious purposes. And my thought to this author, Representative West, who we saw on television, is if you're so certain that this...
We're going to watch what he said in a second. Representative West, what he was talking about there.
Saw on television is if you're so certain that this is what the people want, then send it to the vote of the people. Oh, wait, we already had that in 2016 when the people of Oklahoma voted down State Question 790, which proposed using taxpayer dollars to fund religious activities, purposes, and the 10 Commandments at the state capitol.
This dude is so on point. He is so prepared, so knowledgeable. He is awesome. Mickey Dolenz is the dude's name. If you're in Oklahoma, you make sure that you vote this guy in. He's just fantastic. So Oklahoma voted on a ballot measure. Should we fund religious programs with taxpayer dollars? And they said, no, we should not, by 57%. That's a wide margin, dude. You can't get 57% of America to agree on anything practically. 57% of Oklahoma said no religion funding. That's just amazing.
State capitol. People of Oklahoma voted that down by 57%. We don't want public dollars going towards religion, and we need to keep that separate. However, the majority party continues to have a blatant disregard for the will of the people.
They don't give a shit, of course. There's a statistic that I can't think of right now, but it's something like 70% of the time, if something is backed up by like the wealthy, it goes through. But only like 10% of the time or something, if it's supported by the people, it goes through. This is not like a system in which normal everyday workers, middle class, working poor, whatever, even middle upper class, not a system in which those people get a government that works for them. There's a government that works for the top, 15%, and that includes Christian extremists because they have a disproportionate amount of power in the U.S. right now. So he was just talking about West, that guy West or whatever. This was the report. It's just a little short clip from this TV show that they played. Just listen to what it says here. Kind of breaks it down.
The bill would allow school districts to employ or accept one or more volunteer chaplains to counsel and support students as long as they get approval from their local school board. It also
employment or volunteer. So they're saying they're going to pay these people.
It also says schools can't choose any chaplains who've been convicted of or are a defendant for any crime that would require them to register as a sex offender.
Well, that's lucky, I suppose. Not so lucky in other states. Like I said, there are 13 total, and I forget, something like 8 to 10 or 13% of them don't have any requirements for background checks at all. I don't remember. Just watch my video on my main channel about it. I have a whole chart there that my wife created by going through the bills individually. Anyway.
The bill's author, State Representative Kevin West, says it would be an option for schools to expand or fill holes on support staffs.
Oh, I didn't know Kevin West wrote this bill. Interesting.
We've heard a lot of talk about, a lot of those support staff people, such as counselors, having shortages there. I felt like this would be a good way to open that door to possibly get some help.
He's confident the concept of chaplains in public schools is perfectly legal.
We have
It is not legal in any way. Even if it's like legal in Oklahoma, which it's not, but if it were, federally, it's not legal. And he knows that. He must have read the first sentence of the first amendment of the Constitution at some point in his legal career, right?
Legal.
We have chaplains in the military. That's been challenged before. But we also have had chaplains in the schools. Again,
I don't have a problem with chaplains in the military. I don't have a problem with chaplains in the military, in jails, or in hospitals because people's rights are restricted in those situations. When rights are restricted, I'm okay with that. Kids' rights are not being restricted. They're perfectly free to, like, go to church at the end of the day or whatever.
In the schools in the past. So, I don't think that it runs afoul of any of that.
Hey, we did it before. Might as well do it again, right?
The chaplains would be ones that are certified from their faith group. They can be a minister, a rabbi, a priest, an imam, lay leader, or similar functioning within that faith group.
Yeah, so it's interesting he says that because Ryan Walters explicitly said the opposite. This is Ryan Walters talking about this bill, I believe it's this bill, and explaining, the hang-ups, the things that he is not going to allow, even though this guy who wrote the bill explicitly outlined that it's okay for leaders of other faiths to be a part of it.
We just put in place a new bill, HB 1425. Here's what this bill does. It allows students during the day in high school to go to a church, receive religious or moral study, and get credit for it. We want to encourage our kids to freely express their religious beliefs, and so we're very excited about this piece of legislation. Well, we've now had the Satanists come in and say they're going to offer courses too and get credit for it. So I'm just going to clear this up. No, the Satanists are not coming into our schools. No, Satanism is not a religion.
Yes, it is. It is a legally recognized religion in the United States. Not just like as, an organization like a nonprofit registered church, but also it's been deemed a religion by courts.
They will not be recognized by our State Department of Education. You are not a religion, Satanist. I know that you guys like lying, and that's a central part of your belief system.
No, it isn't actually.
But you will not be participating with our schools. You will not be allowed in our schools, nor will you receive credit.
So that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to hear from him, right? Immediately after listening to the guy who wrote the bill say, I'm doing it for everybody. Anyone can take part in this program. I'm not limiting it to Christians.
That are certified from their faith group. They can be a minister, a rabbi, a priest, an imam, lay leader, or similar functioning within that faith group.
That's interesting, huh? Sounds like we're getting contradictions. You know why? Because these people, when I say these people, I mean the bill framer, the guy on screen here, Ryan Walters, the guy that enforces all of these things, they don't actually want other religions in schools or involved in any way, shape, or form. This is for Christians only. And if Ryan Walters didn't make that clear enough for you, listen to these right-wing activists testifying.
But the left side will make innuendos. Well, now we're going to have Satan as his chaplains. First, satanic is not a church, it's not a religion, it's anti-God. So you just say, okay, and move on to the next one. Because
that's how they're going to discriminate. They're just going to say, no, we're not bringing you in.
Because I don't know any of you that would hire a Satanist, so you just look at their background and don't hire them. I mean, I don't know people in their engineering firm or teachers or baseball coaches that have an outright Satanist and say, oh, yeah, well, we'll hire. So
problem solved. They're only going to hire Christians. Yeah, it may be technically legal for a Buddhist priest to be in the schools. Good luck getting one in. Not for nothing, but segregation ended in 1965, I think, right? Or 64, officially on paper. The Civil Rights Act ended it. Military had to walk a little girl into an integrated school. There's a famous picture of it. But people continued suffering in the form of social pressure, if you will. Yeah, the state was not enforcing or not allowing, companies to enforce segregation rules, but the KKK stepped in where the state stepped out and said, we'll just burn some crosses on a few lawns. We'll just hang some people from trees and see if they continue the segregation and see if they continue this integration thing. That seems like what's happening here. We're trying to push the door open and we will socially decide who we want involved. we're going to segregate this whole thing into Christians only. And everyone else, any other faith, background, whatever, will be pushed out. These people are absolutely soulless. Absolutely soulless. Tell me what you think about this in the comments.
That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this. And take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.